You want to save some money and buy second hand. Well, before you do that, have a watch of this. Mountain bikes and their components are just getting more and more expensive all of the time, which is making it more and more tempting to turn to second hand to try and grab yourself a really good deal. The problem is with that though, is that it does open you up to a lot of risks. So recently I bought myself a second hand frame as part of a new build I'm doing on this channel, but it made me realise that there are a few little tips and tricks that you can use to try and keep yourself safe. What are the risks that you might face buying second hand? Firstly, we got scammers. They're everywhere and they're trying to steal our well-earned money. It's not fair, but unfortunately they are about. And in mountain biking, because components and bikes are expensive, it's a prime place for them to go. Another risk is people trying to sell components that have got some hidden issues. For example, you could have a wheel where inside the hub there could be damage to the paws, to the springs, to the bearings, but at first glance it's not something that you would be able to tell. So at that point you think you've got yourself a really good deal and you track it on your bike and then you realise it's faulty. But unfortunately at that point, that seller's already got your money and unfortunately they're not going to give it back. Another risk with buying online is buying fakes. Now this is something that's more going to happen in something like a clothing industry, but it still can absolutely happen in mountain biking. Now let's get into some methods and techniques that you can use so you can safely buy second hand. And we're going to start with where you actually should go. First place that I would go to is Pinkbike. So Pinkbike is a major forum in mountain biking, super popular, and is designed for real bike enthusiasts. So the people you're going to find on there tend to be more truthful riders. If you go onto the Pinkbike website, you can then go to an option at the top which says buy and sell. You can then filter it by your country and your location, and then you can choose what product you want, whether that be bike frames, wheels, suspension, and from there there's other filters to narrow it down so you can find the product you're looking for. The only issue I find with Pinkbike is you can't actually buy stuff on the website, you just can contact the seller. So what I would then advise from there is try and talk to them on good platforms such as say Instagram. That's what I did, and by having that it meant that I had someone's proper Instagram account, they had plenty of followers, so I could then look at their account and check them out to make sure they seem legit. The second place to buy is eBay. So eBay is a major place for buying used and second-hand items. Now what I would say with this one is that you can look at sellers' history. So get looking at their ratings and their previous reviews, and that will give you a bit of an indication of how they are. So if you go into someone's profile and you see they have really good positive feedback, a really good rating, then that's going to give you a bit of peace of mind that they are a true seller. However, if you go on someone's profile and it's really bare or has negative feedback and reviews, then it's probably one you want to stay away from. X demos. This is a really good way to get yourself a good value second-hand bike with far more security. So actually both my electric bike and Dad's electric e-bikes were both demo bikes from YT, and we got ourselves a really good deal. It was such a good deal that we wasn't actually really in the market for e-bikes, but we tried some and really loved them, and then we found out that the option was there and the price of them was so good that we just had to get some. What actually are X-Demo bikes? So basically you have manufacturers or bike places that will have a selection of bikes that customers can come and demo for the day for a small fee, and then they get to have a nice fun time on a nice flashy bike. But as the season ends, these bikes are going to get refreshed with the newest model. So their old ones are going to get sold off, but often at a much bigger discount. The major advantage of this is that it takes out that risk of buying second hand. Reason being is that these manufacturers have their brand's reputation on the line. So they're not going to want to be selling you a dodgy bike. Plus, the bike is going to be looked after their own mechanics who know the bike inside and out. So you can have trust that they've looked after it. To look out for these deals, it's a really good idea to get down to some of these bike places that have demo bikes and just have a little chat with the team and see if they can give you any information about if they're going to be selling off their X-Demo bikes. This is what I did with my YTE bike. They had a garage sale that they do like every year, and it's where they sell off a lot of their X-Demo bikes, even some X-Marketing bikes, which are really good deals because they've barely even been ridden. So you can get yourself some awesome deals. It's worth mentioning on that topic that YT currently actually have a sale on some of their bikes, so check it out. They have a few options and they have some big savings up to like £1,600 off, so really good saving there. You've made that decision that you're going to want to buy secondhand and try and save yourself some money. So what are some tips that you can use to make sure that you keep yourself safe and protected? Going to start with, when you're actually buying the item, a really good idea is to use either something like PayPal or a credit card, because you've got a lot more security behind you. A little story about this is that I, a while back, bought some trainers. I thought I was getting myself a really good deal, but unfortunately the trainers never turned up and I'd lost my money. So I put a claim in with PayPal and luckily I got my money back and I got it really quick as well. As I mentioned previously, you really want to try and check out the seller's history and some information. eBay has some ratings and you can look at some reviews and just make sure that they've got some good history behind them so you know that they're truthful. Another tip is to contact the seller and see if you can get a proof of purchase. Now this is going to be really useful, especially if you're buying stuff like bikes, because there's a lot of bike theft where people are then going to try and sell on bikes. So like I say, if you've got proof of purchase, you know that that seller has bought that bike and that is a truthful product. Following up from that, you can ask the seller for a serial number. A lot of websites have options where you can type in the serial number of your product into their website and then it'll give you lots of information about it. If that comes up, that's going to give you peace of mind that that component is legit. A little trick that I used when I recently bought my Yeti frame was I chucked out a few technical questions to see what the seller's response was. And the reason for this is that someone owning some expensive components or frames like the Yeti is going to surely have a bit of knowledge on the bike. So if you're chucking out questions to them and they just have no clue whatsoever, that's probably going to be a red flag. The final tip that I've got for you is to, wherever you can, try and get yourself eyes on the product. It's going to be so much more beneficial because you can have a look around it, get hands on, check for any damage and just make sure it is nice and true. And it also allows you to have a little chat with the seller and get a bit of a vibe off them to see if they are real or if you feel they are trying to flog you a dodgy item. Hopefully you can take something away from this video to keep yourself safe and protected when buying secondhand so you can get yourself some really good deals, because there definitely are some awesome deals out there. I mean, I managed to get hold of this Yeti frame, which is just unbelievable. Yeti frames brand new are like thousands of pounds, which I couldn't afford. But thankfully, secondhand, I managed to get myself this awesome deal. If you have any other tips and tricks that you can use, make sure to let us know down below in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another ride.